Hello, and welcome to the fourth draft. Not sure what this is? Click here for a brief explanation. Now, this is a bit of a loaded question, but what do you think of when you think Star Wars? Maybe lightsabers, maybe Jedi and the Force, maybe giant space laser battles, or all of the above. Maybe it's just me, but personally, when I think Star Wars, I think I don't think it's hyperbole to say that the decision to use an opening text crawl for Star Wars instead of, say, opening credits like many movies of the day, accompanied with John Williams' incredible score, was a game-changing artistic decision on behalf of George Lucas. It is something distinctly recognized as Star Wars today, something more unique to it than almost anything else. There are lightsaber clones everywhere, the Force is a vague enough concept to be considered a magic system with many out there like it, and Lucas certainly does not have the monopoly on space operas. But this is Star Wars. But the interesting thing is, at the time of production, what we now see as a trademark of Lucas was not so praised. It broke a whole lot of rules, both in terms of vague writing rules and in terms of legitimate, legally should be followed rules. For my first episode, I want to start by talking about writing in very broad, vague terms, hence my blue tie. I want to establish my most basic principle, with which I approach everything in the writing world, and understanding this principle will hopefully help you to better understand a lot of my opinions on various things. So without further ado, let's get on to the fourth draft episode 1. One rule to rule them all. When you get into analyzing writing, and in fact most art forms, you'll find there tends to be a lot of scaffolding, so to speak, in the form of informal rules you are expected to follow. The exact number of rules and the rules themselves varies depending on the art form and who you're asking. Unlike in, say, a board game, breaking these rules isn't strictly wrong, and you generally won't be punished for it, but it's usually looked down upon, and often for good reason. When it comes to writing, however, I personally only believe in one true rule that should be followed always. I first heard it from, actually my 8th grade science teacher, oddly enough, though he is one of my biggest inspirations in writing, and I have since heard it in a myriad of other places. It's one of the only pieces of writing advice I've ever heard that I agree with 100%. In a nutshell, the rule is as follows. In writing, you can do whatever you want, as long as you have a reason. Or, to put it another way, whatever you do, do with purpose. This basic concept can apply basically anywhere in life, but in writing specifically, I like to explain it like this. There are no hard and fast rules, as long as whatever you do it for a reason and you know what that reason is. Everywhere you look, there will be people telling you about things you should never do because they're bad form or they peg you as an amateur writer. And most of the time, these people are right. There are a lot of things you really don't want to do most of the time, like thesaurus writing or unnecessary exposition dumps. However, you can break these rules, as long as you have a good reason. George Lucas had good reason to break rules with the opening text crawl, and he broke several. For starters, not using opening credits wasn't just breaking an artistic rule, it broke an actual rule he was ordered to follow by the Directors Guild of America. Even after the success of A New Hope, when he did the same thing in Empire Strikes Back, they tried to sue him and successfully fined him for $25,000 before he resigned from the guild. But he did not back down. He broke the rules, and as a result, we got the opening crawls that are now iconic. But he wasn't just breaking the rules according to some incompetent bureaucrats at some guild. At first glance, there are real problems with Lucas's vision. On paper, it's a lazy way to deliver exposition in an uninteresting way, even if it is visually engaging. It breaks one of the many rules of film. Show, don't tell. What better way to start a movie than with the most engaging action of all, reading? But despite that, it works. And now that we've seen it in action, we know that, and one can put forward many arguments as to why it works. But at the time, Lucas was just a rebel. He might even have been pegged as an amateur for it. Now, obviously this has its limits. I can't think of a single good reason to justify excessive thesaurus writing, or having the first 30 pages of your story be pure exposition. But that's the thing about writing. Maybe you can. Maybe you have a story that breaks one of those rules and just works. And maybe after you grace the world with your story filled with broken rules and ignored creative writing classes, people will see your rebellion as something that was brilliant all along. Now, in a lot of areas, there is the concept of mastering the rules first in order to break them well. The idea is that you can break guidelines and traditions, but only once you've mastered them so you know how to break them right. I think this is true to a point, but writing has a bit more freedom than that. In chess, for instance, once you're a decent player, suddenly everything becomes patterns, rules, specific openings and series of moves. A knight on the rim is dim, so on and so forth. There's not very much room for creativity as a middle-level chess player, but once you're a master and you've memorized every single common play, then you get to start having fun and getting creative. But writing isn't just like chess. You can get creative and break the rules even if you've never bothered to learn them, and it can still be great as long as you have a good reason for breaking them. And for all my rambling, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Whether you choose to follow the rules set out for you to make you not sound like an amateur, or whether you choose to fly by the seat of your pants, all that matters is that you know why you're doing things the way you do them. If you want to use a particularly hated cliché or trope, but you know why, and believe it genuinely improves your story and takes it in an innovative direction, go for it. Not everyone will like it. In fact, many people I've met will dislike certain stories on principle just because they use a certain trope or break a certain golden rule, even if it does it well. But know why you write what you write. If you really believe that a love triangle will make your young adult dystopian novel better, who am I to tell you otherwise? So remember that. In this series, I'm likely to spend a lot of time talking about these aforementioned rules, speaking in broad strokes about clichés or tropes I personally like or dislike, and why certain things are generally bad or good. But that's all it is at the end of the day. Generalizations. If you can make something work, don't let anyone tell you that it's bad on principle, because it just might make your story better, as long as you know why. Anyway, I think that's about all for now. If you have anything you want to add to or dispute from this video, feel free to let me know in the comments. I'd love to have a discussion down below. As always, never stop writing. This is Scott, signing out.